look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view. But there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
And we are back.
We are back, Bumble Bitches.
Technical issues. Sorry about the bullshit, guys. I know that all of you, there was like 60 of you waiting in the other live stream channel. For some reason, it didn't work. And when this connected, it connected to a different thing, but it looks like it's all working the way it's supposed to be working now. So
neat.
Hopefully it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. We'll see. I'm going to give it a second. Okay, yeah, we're working. We're good. All right, so we're doing some Friday content. Going to just read some articles off of medium.com.
Okay.
It means you're going to read articles. I'm going to sit and stare at your clavicles.
Okay. This one is another one from Annie Tanasturgan. I can't focus on the last name. Just read it.
She's a PhD.
She is. I didn't read the name of the article.
I feel we read this one.
Oh.
Or she just reused the same image.
So what's the name of the article, babe?
Breaking free from your narcissistic parent.
Okay. You have a lot going on over there, I can tell.
I do. I'm trying to get it so that I can put this down because I want to pay attention completely, but okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, let's jump into it. Choosing to go no contact with a narcissistic parent is one of the most difficult and emotionally unsettling experiences many of us have or will go through in our own healing journey. It is never an easy decision when grappling with whether or not to limit contact or interactions with a family member, let alone a parent. There will be inevitable second guessing of your choice, as well as the incredible guilt that will be carried with you.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to agree with that. The guilt is massive.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not one scenario.
Right. It's offense after offense after offense.
Right,
after
man.
offense.
And like when you get to that point of finally going, you know what? I think this is the best thing for me.
Yeah.
It's freeing. In my scenario, it was freeing. Like there's still like, I miss my mom every once in a while. Like I hope she's doing well and I wonder what she's going through, but like, I know better.
You could have acted right.
I know better. And the idea of even reaching out and trying to break radio silence, I'd rather eat a nail. Like,
yeah, the thought of that gives me a lot of anxiety. You know, I think about it at least once a day. And there is a lot of guilt there and a lot of like what ifs. And part of me worries that I've created like a healing fantasy of the situation. And if I were to reach back out, it would all be destroyed and I would feel worse than I did before. There's a lot that goes into all of it. It is freeing. You know, there's not a constant anxiety or worry or what is this person going to say? What are they going to think? How are they going to make me feel bad today? Yeah. Oh, thank you for commenting on how I did my dress. It's very itchy. Like I'm starting to get texture issues from it.
it's just on the top or the lower half too?
All of it. All of it. Like the inside is the same. There's a very thin lining on the inside, but I can feel all of the intricate work and like the sparkles. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot. So this alleviated some of that up there. Still kind of want to burn my skin though. All right. Continuing on. Going no contact is not an impulsive or arbitrary decision and is not based on trying to punish our caregiver.
Hold on. We can't. That should have been a paragraph.
Yeah.
That one fucking sentence is like no.
Yeah. It took me years.
Yeah.
Years to make that decision.
There is so much power in going, this isn't about you. This isn't about our relationship. This is about the way that I feel I'm being treated and my boundaries. And this is it. Like I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
A lot of people think that that you're writing people off. Like I'll show them. It's like giving them the silent treatment. It's
right.
not.
Like you're punishing them and that's not what it's about.
Right. It's definitely not. It's not punishment. It's not revenge.
It has nothing. I mean, it has to do with you, but in the grand scheme of things, it's about the person making the decision.
Right. It's making sure that I'm okay and you're making me not okay.
Yeah. Hey guys, little quick interruption. If you're enjoying the content, please leave a like. And also don't forget to comment. We enjoy interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions, and it helps the algorithm.
It's also free to do, and if you really want to help make sure the show continues to do, hit the subscribe button and share the content across your social medias. It costs you nothing, and it greatly helps the show. Yeah.
We are not flexing our power over them or restricting communication as a game. The reality is that most of us adult children of narcissistic parents had our boundaries repeatedly violated, our sense of self-worth shattered, and our autonomy destroyed. The last thing we would know how to do is play a game that involved one-upping someone to gain power over them because we experienced having our own power repeatedly taken from us.
Before we go on, though, being that only 1 in 200 people are diagnosed as an actual narcissistic personality disorder, when we're reading this article, you need to understand that people who have CPTSD, borderline personality disorder, any type of real mental disorder will show signs of narcissistic traits.
Yes.
And you can be abused by somebody who has narcissistic traits without them actually being a narcissist.
Yes.
I'm still standing very high on that mountain of not everyone's a narcissist, and using that word is more harming than beneficial.
Devalues.
It actually takes away from the people who are truly going through narcissistic abuse. But yeah.
I agree with that.
Somebody asked for a link to the article in Discord. I will do that right now, but you're going to have to pay for it. If you would like to pay for medium.com, you can be able to follow all these articles with us. Okay, go ahead, Hotness.
All right. So you have to scroll down a little bit.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Do I?
Yes. Okie dokie.
How about there?
As with most things, oh gosh, it's so hard to read sometimes. There's a fine line between establishing a boundary for ourselves versus trying to control or manipulate a situation. This fine line is established when learning the differences between narcissistic silent treatment. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm reading, but I'm lost in La La Land in my brain, so I haven't absorbed any of that. I'm going to have to reread it.
Okay.
I was just thinking, it's so crazy that just being alive is wild. I'm thinking about speaking and it works.
Yeah.
And I'm reading something with made up letters confined in a way to create words that we also made up.
But it provides understanding so that we can communicate. That's what sets us apart from all the other species on the planet.
That's what separates me from a fish, guys.
Yeah.
All right. As with most things, there's a fine line between establishing a boundary for ourselves versus trying to control or manipulate a situation. Is that a fine line?
Yes. Yes, it is. Because there's a whole lot of people that will set boundaries and use it to control another person or manipulating them into doing something that they want them to do.
Oh, yeah, like an ultimatum or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be very manipulative with all of that shit.
Okay. This fine line is established when learning the differences between narcissistic silent treatment, which is based on power, punishment, manipulation, guilt, and control, versus going no contact, which is based on establishing a non-negotiable boundary for ourselves to protect our emotional and psychological health.
You guys should read, is it Boundaries?
Set Boundaries, Find Peace?
Yes, Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to this episode and you haven't read that book yet, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
I love that book. Very good one.
You know what? That's going to be our book for the men's group.
Yeah?
Yep, for March. Putting that in there right now.
This quarter for my private women's group, my top tier private women's group has been all about like really sifting through all the childhood trauma, damage, and things that still affect our lives. And next quarter is going to be all about building ourselves back up with confidence and shit. Pretty excited about that.
Gives me a reason to read that book again.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
It is.
Okay.
Anyone who grew up experiencing a narcissistic parent recognizes that they are skilled manipulators, emotional controllers, and gaslighters. And they're masters at denying all of it.
Yep.
They are equally skilled at playing a martyr and flipping the script to anyone involved that we are just difficult or troubled children. Their abuse can be so covert and convincing that doctors, teachers, and even social services believe their story instead of taking the time to examine the truth. There are differences between a shy child and an emotionally withdrawn child. There are differences between a child who is oppositional versus a child who is actively trying to protect their abusive parent by refusing to comply. And there are differences between a rebellious kid and one who is self-destructing as a cry for help. Yet, if these professionals aren't properly trained to notice the red flags in an abused child, they may fall hook, line, and sinker for the self-serving story they're being spoon-fed from a narcissistic parent.
Looking for something you said, I didn't want to interrupt. There's a difference between a shy child and an emotionally withdrawn child.
Yeah.
Our children are so in tune with what's going on with them at 6 and 7, almost 6, call it 6 because it's close enough, 6 and 7 years old, that they are comfortable going, I'm not comfortable talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable around new people.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
this is scary for me, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a huge, like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
While reading that.
Yeah.
Just now.
That made me feel really good. It made me feel really good when I can't remember where we were at, but our daughter was getting ready to try something new. And she looked at this complete stranger and was like, I'm scared to do this. There was no embarrassment. There was no shame. There was no needing to feel pressured to do something to please the adults that are around. Made me feel really good as a parent.
What was that?
I can't remember what it was. She did it and she nailed it. But I can't remember what it was.
I remember that whole scenario.
Yeah.
Remember the conversation, but don't remember what we were doing. Anyways.
I'm going to have to think about that. She's done it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did it when they met Carrie. Yeah, she was like, I'm kind of nervous to meet you. I don't know how to talk to you.
Right.
And then she didn't isolate herself. She didn't put herself in her bedroom or anything like that. It was going to school. She was absolutely terrified to go to school. And she got out of the car and she looked at the lady helping her get out of the car.
You're right.
And she was like, I'm scared. I've never been here before. All right. The psychological and emotional scars of growing up with a narcissistic caregiver or family member left an indelible mark on my psyche and on how I see myself. What does indelible mean? I'm assuming permanent.
Yeah.
But
making marks that cannot be removed.
Okay.
Not able to be forgotten or removed is the actual definition.
I like that. That's a nice word, indelible. These are the same scars that have us turning to unpredictable and mentally unstable friends because their chaos felt comfortably familiar. They're the same scars that had us attracted to partners who are mirror images of the wounds created by our narcissistic caregivers. Many of us learned love conditionally, that we are given approval and validation by making our caregiver look good. And in some cases, making them feel good.
Yeah.
Making them feel like they are doing the thing they set out to do. When we recently watched that Gabby Petito Netflix three series documentary. And one of the things that stood out to me, it was stated that Brian's mom threw a fit when nobody commented on the pie that she made for dinner. That's something that stands out to me as needing to feel good, getting the validation of the people around them. That's what I meant by that. As long as I remembered to use the proper fork when sitting in the restaurant, or that I didn't speak up and sat there invisibly as a gesture of their good parenting, children should be seen but never heard. I got the nod of approval from them. Yet, as with any narcissistic environment, things are not always what they seem. To avoid harsh punishment, we sat there as a fixture, not unlike the chair we were sitting on. To avoid them raising their eyebrow as the only warning we would receive, we made damn sure we used the proper salad fork. If we screwed up, we were punished and made to believe everything was our fault, including how they treated us. Many of us fought the idea of having no contact with our caregivers. We shamed ourselves for even thinking such a preposterous thing. We ended up abusing ourselves for wanting to separate ourselves. Instead, we found ourselves right back in the lion's den, trying to make amends with them, trying to be a better child in their eyes, trying to live our life for them. We fooled ourselves into thinking that things would get better if only. If only we found the perfect way to reach them. If only we were a better child to them. If only we tried harder. If only we took the job they expected or got the degree that they wanted. If only we were thinner, more handsome, smarter, faster, stronger, richer, better educated. If only. It is the if only thoughts and beliefs that keep us hooked on the pattern of trying to appease a person who is impossible to please. We inevitably reach our breaking point with everything. We eventually come to terms with accepting that they were not going to change. If they've been the same person for decades and haven't tried to better themselves by now, chances are they won't. We slowly get to a point where we begin to see that distancing ourselves is an act of self-love and self-respect, but it is not without its own form of chaos. Society as a whole is not always accepting of hearing that someone has no contact with their caregiver, especially if their family member is older. There are these spoken and unspoken expectations, i.e., social rules, that state we are supposed to blindly care for our caregivers in their golden years without batting an eye, irrespective of what they may have caused us or put us through. The judgment of others can be harsh, especially if they have not experienced abuse firsthand from their own relatives. They simply may not understand that going no contact is liberating and freeing us from the grasp of years of being controlled, shamed, abused, or invalidated. You gonna say something? Okay. Need a hug?
Just having a hard time with this.
Yeah.
Is this where we're supposed to be?
Yeah, when a person.
Okay.
When a person was not raised in an environment where emotional manipulation, abuse, and control were the norm, it can be difficult for them to understand why we may choose to go no contact. They probably cannot relate to living in survival mode where, as a kid, we may have hidden in our closets hoping to disappear. They may not understand how, even if the bruises and cuts were long gone, the emotional scars remain. They may not be able to sympathize with the anger, sadness, and sense of betrayal that may have identified our childhood. And they may not be able to relate to what it feels like to have been an unwanted child. Comments like, "but they're your family," are not always ill-intended, but can come with feeling judged, shamed, and stigmatized, even if it is not what they intended. The worst comments are often those from narcissistic people themselves who callously tell you to let it go, move on, or get over it, without a shred of empathy for you or your situation. I remember this was years before I decided to cut this person out of my life. I reached out to another family member and I laid everything out on the table and I was like, I'm traumatized. Like, I'm not okay. And this person hit me with, well, everyone gets fucking traumatized. Get over it. Suffice it to say, these same people often end up being cut out of our lives as we go no contact with a narcissistic family member. There will be moments at the end of the day when we question our choice in going no contact. These moments can be especially painful during holidays when the person's void becomes more prominent. Holidays are when we should be celebrating with our relatives and making memories instead of wondering if they are okay or if they are thinking about us. Our hearts can break with the realization that a narcissistic parent or relative never saw us or appreciated us for who we are instead of what they expected us to be or wanted from us. These moments become even more obvious when we take the time to look at Christmas presents they bought that reflected their own likes instead of actually knowing ours, or in the birthday gifts that somehow always included something they wanted for themselves. These moments also become more evident when we remember all the times we tried to go overboard making them proud or happy, only to feel let down a little more each time with their indifference or backhanded compliments. There will also be moments when we feel the peace that comes with walking away from all toxic relationships in our lives.
That's where I'm at.
Including ones with relatives with whom we have chosen to go no contact. This peace comes with the empowerment of taking back our lives on our own terms and reclaiming our personal space and personal agency. That's where my guilt comes from.
Why?
Because for a very long time, I didn't believe I had the right to do that for myself.
I believe that that's trauma bonding. When people speak of trauma bonds, that's what I think of.
I believe that it was selfish of me. Me not accepting the things that I'm not okay with being selfish. I should just allow these things to happen because it makes the other person feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
It sucks feeling like for a very long time, I believe that I was born to not live my own life. Like I was here to just be whatever this other person wanted me to be for them. We learn through the process of walking away and choosing healthier for ourselves that no contact is not so much about severing certain relationships in our life, as much as it is about severing the parts of ourselves that were mistreated, abused, felt unseen or unheard. No contact allows us to grieve that version of ourselves that was never seen as good enough. Remaining no contact allows us to recognize that we are worth so much more than crumbs of affection or conditional love. It helps empower us to see and accept that while we may not have had any power over our circumstances then, we have the power now to choose what we want in our lives and the relationships that nurture us.
There is a disclaimer here at the bottom that says the following is educational content based on lived experiences and should not be considered therapy or a substitute for professional treatment. There's a couple things that I wanted to touch on. I was trying not to fucking break down. Okay. The psychological and emotional scars of growing up with a narcissistic caregiver or family member left an indelible mark on my psyche and how I see myself. These are the same scars that have us turning to unpredictable and mentally unstable friends. Because their chaos felt comfortably familiar. This is why people say that you grew up to marry your mom or your dad.
Yeah.
Right? You grew up marrying the people that abused you, and you stick to those cycles because you've learned how to survive that and navigate those waters. And like, though sailing is rough, you can do it. And that's so much more, it's not right. It's not easier. It's more comforting knowing that you can overcome that or navigate that than it is to venture out into new waters because you're afraid of what may come. I have so many things that I want to talk about, both in my childhood and in my previous marriage, but I think I probably shouldn't get into that on the podcast. Well, that sucked to read.
Yeah. One of the things that was thrown in my face a lot was when your children grow up, you don't want them to treat you the way you're treating me. And my response was, I'm not going to raise my children the way that I was.
Right.
This will never be a thing for my children and I.
Recognizing dependency and trauma bonds.
Send it. Fuck.
Same author.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much I paid for this website, guys. It's medium.com. The author is Annie Tanasaguran, PhD. I don't want to take away from this person's work or think that we're claiming any of this. We are reading articles off the internet and discussing them. So fair rights use is still a thing. This is not our work. But our opinions are ours.
Yes.
So we'll do this one and do a couple Q&A and then we'll run home and get you out of dress.
Okay. One of the most rewarding parts of life.
Hold on. Let me read the disclaimer. Okay. This article talks candidly about trauma and trauma bonded relationships. While the goal is to educate and offer support for anyone who experiences a trauma bonding dynamic, there may be information in this article that is triggering for some. You have been warned.
One of the most rewarding parts of life is in experiencing healthy and connected relationships. When a relationship is healthy between two...
Hold on. I can't. The piece that they talked about when I was like, that's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot in the last couple days about overcoming a lot of things and like where our life is going and the piece that it took to get to where we are. I actually am going to be posting a clip today from an earlier episode, I think episode 10 of the season, where we talked about cutting people out of our lives and how I no longer need a discussion.
Yeah.
I've experienced that true peace. And though I need to work on compassion and empathy for others because I am so quick to cut people out of my life because I was abused for so long. We talked in the car yesterday about the inner child thing.
Yeah.
And
I've been thinking really heavily about that today.
Yeah. Elaborate on that. Because I'm just going to repeat the quote and then we're going to move on. But if you'd like to elaborate, let's elaborate.
Yeah, you can say the quote.
I saw something yesterday that said that the inner child statement is bullshit. That there is no inner child in you. You are your inner child. That inner child is who you have grown into. You are still that person. And when you're going through things and you are healing that inner child, you're healing you. It's not your inner child that's being affected by the things that happen. That your child, that you went through that. And you've been carrying it all this time. So your inner child's not the one that's healing. You are. And when you have that, and you have that healing, and you realize that you are no longer in danger, and you have the ability to live your life in a peaceful, boundary setting way, you have a new understanding of peace that you will never understand until you get that. So when I say I'm going to protect my peace at all costs, that's exactly what that is. I will never allow myself to be in a position where I will be abused the way that I have been in my life. I'm done with that shit. And the moment that I start seeing something like that come up, I'm out.
Yesterday, when you hit me with that sentence, I realized that I had been using my inner child as a way to distance myself from my own healing. Because in my mind, there's me, and then there's this damaged inner child who needs to be loved. And there is no child in me, it's just me.
You are love, though. Come on, Carrie.
Did this dress make that cry look magical?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Thank you for that, babe. I needed that.
You're welcome. They're saying it did.
Okay. Where am I at? I don't even know.
However, some may not have experienced this kind of intimate
Okay.
connection in their lives.
However, some may not have experienced this kind of intimate connection in their lives. They may not know what authentic compatibility looks like or what it feels like to be able to sit down and talk about anything with your person. Instead of feeling wanted and appreciated by their partner, they may have a history of going through one bad relationship to the next, or more commonly, find themselves stuck in a dead-end relationship that is unfulfilling or even toxic.
They may not know what authentic compatibility looks like or what it feels like to be able to sit down and talk about anything with your person. I have never experienced that in my life until our marriage.
Same. I appreciate you.
I truly believe that we have something that everyone can have. They're just not willing to let their guard down enough and heal enough to make it happen, because it's easier to keep scabs and to keep that guard than it is to get hurt again.
Yeah. When a romantic relationship is mixed with a history of unresolved trauma, it shifts the chance for healthy connection to unhealthy attachment between both partners. This attachment forms and maintains an unhealthy bond to a person, which is commonly referred to as a trauma bond. Trauma bonds do not start in our adult relationships. They begin in our childhood in narcissistic, opportunistic, and abusive environments. We may have grown up experiencing violence in the home, physical or emotional abuse, mental illness within our family, attachment insecurities originating from our caregivers or addiction with a family member. If these experiences were traumatic for us, they increase the risk of developing a traumatic bond relationship based on abuse and betrayal. For example, some kids may have come from home environments where family members shamed them for being different. Some may have experienced broken promises by a caregiver, unreliable or inconsistent boundaries, or withholding of love by a parent unless the kid jumped through hoops that kept moving. Others may have experienced a caregiver who had neurotic fears of abandonment and believed that the only way to be happy was to be in a romantic relationship. Still, others may have been used as a pawn by their parents as leverage for child support. These are all forms of betrayal that can inevitably breed dependency and increase the risk of a trauma-bonded relationship. In our childhood, betrayal may have been handed to us as an act of omission where a parent should have provided safety, love, validation, and consistency, but didn't. Others may have experienced acts of commission where betrayal was active and overt, such as experiencing abuse, neglect, threats, or favoritism. Each time these kinds of betrayals played out, what was being taught is that you had to perform, achieve, or play a certain role, i.e. the funny kid, the scholar, the problem child, etc., which became cyclic. What you probably learned was that to get attention from your family, either positive or negative attention, you jumped through hoops that were put in front of you or you played the role you were handed. Betrayal leads to an erosion of trust, both in the ability to trust yourself and those in your life. Instead of being able to show up as your authentic self, you may have learned that your role in childhood was to chronically care for others. Fast forward to your adult life, and you may have a history of choosing partners who won't hold down a job, are severely narcissistic, or who cannot seem to get their life together. These relationships put you in a position of parenting your partner while your basic needs for love, trust, and safety go unchecked. Instead of feeling confident in your abilities with who you are as a person, you may have learned that your role in childhood was to chase after a negligent or uncaring parent for crumbs of validation. You may have gone out of your way to try and make them happy while becoming more resentful each time they continued ignoring you. Fast forward into your adult life, and you may notice a pattern of sacrificing your own needs to please your partner, or playing the martyr for the sake of keeping the peace in the relationship while growing more contemptuous of your partner. Instead of feeling that you were allowed to be imperfect and human as a kid, you may have learned that your role was to be perfect and that nothing less than perfection was expected by your narcissistic parents. Fast forward into your adult life, and you may notice that you had overstayed in a trauma-bonded romantic relationship in hopes that you were just more perfect, more fit, more handsome, had a better paying job, kept a cleaner home, or were more forgiving, then things would have been different and improved.
The only if.
4 types of dependency seen in trauma bonds. Specific roles can be seen as forms of dependency within a trauma bond because of how they condition you to routinely replay certain patterns based on what is happening within a relationship and at any given moment. However, they usually walk hand in hand with more destructive types of dependency. Dependency on chaos.
This is the first one, dependency on chaos.
A hard truth is that without chaos in a trauma bond, you have no relationship. These relationships feed off of chaos. If you are in a trauma-bonded relationship, you may not know you are hooked on the highs and lows and the unpredictable chaos that surrounds your relationship. It is the constant unpredictability that can condition you to chaos as normal. It is the same pattern that also creates the walking on eggshells feelings, where you know that the chaos is going to resume, you just don't know when. The dependency on chaos is what gets confused as love because of the intense highs and lows and the patterns of makeup to breakup. This dynamic strengthens, reinforces a trauma bond based on the unpredictable highs and lows. For example, you may feel so ecstatic during the good times that you find yourself trying to please and appease your partner to the point of neglecting your own needs. Equally common is to push your partner's buttons as a way of gaining their attention. Because trauma bonds are based on intensity and passion, when you do or say something to trigger them, the goal is to gain their attention as a form of validation. Remember, negative attention is still attention.
This is the people who get mad and smash controllers. You know, their partner plays video games and they break the PC or the PlayStation, or they delete their fucking accounts, and they do that vindictive shit because it gets them the attention and the validation and can get them the reassurance that they love them in the moment. And you can always buy another game, but the way that you're going to make me feel over the next 3 days of us going through this big ass fight, like, yeah, that's a lot.
Next bullet point is loss of identity dependency. Many who find themselves in a trauma-bonded relationship are severely anxiously attached or may live with borderline personality disorder and are more fearful avoidant attachment style. If you are more anxiously attached or living with BPD, you may also notice that parts of who you are may change based on what you believe your partner wants.
That chameleon.
Yeah. For example, your sense of self may be chipped away each time another round of manipulation plays out in the relationship. You may adopt your partner's narrative with their cruelty towards you as being your fault, or you may stifle your own needs out of fear of being rejected if you were to stand up for yourself. Equally common during the highs of idealization is that us against the world dynamic that manipulates you into believing that they are your person and that the two of you are perfect, inseparable couple. It is this manipulation that slowly and systematically chips away your autonomy and isolates you from other relationships, keeping your attention on your partner, thus strengthening the trauma bonds. Next one is emotional dependency. If you are in a trauma-bonded relationship, you may notice a pattern of turning to your partner for validation or direction. For example, because trauma bonds chip away at your sense of independence, they can also chip away at your ability to trust your own judgment on things. Instead of being able to make your own decisions on what job to take or what to make for dinner, you may be in a pattern of turning to them for advice. This pattern can lead to a strengthening of the trauma bond based on coercive control and manipulation. For example, you may want to quit your job for another that is more aligned with your goals or direction. Yet, if your partner disapproves of your choice, they may try to shame you or instill fear that you are not good enough for that job or that it is not a good match for you. By chipping away at your sense of self-worth, it reinforces a dependency on your partner for support and emotional guidance.
So when this started, for example, you may want to quit your job for another that is more aligned with your goals or direction. Yet if your partner disapproves of your choice, they may try to shame you. Before it got to that point, we were reading all of that was like, I was like, I kind of align with this one because I come to you about everything. Yeah. And it's not because I need you to validate me. It's because I need you in the loop, right? I don't want to ever make decisions that could affect your life in a negative manner without talking to you about it first, because as the decision maker, it is my responsibility to make the decisions and not fuck your life up in the process. Mm-hmm. But I was like, okay, I think that out of all of these, this is the one that now resonates because the chaos one resonated for my past life,
yeah,
right?
Me too.
But the emotional dependency, I was like, damn, maybe I was wrong on my chaos. It's not. We have a
healthy relationship,
right? But we also have the us against the world thing. Like I if you go before me, I'm going right after you. Like that's all there is to that. I'm not going to do this alone. This is all your fault. How dare you give me a good life?
In moments like this, I want to come over there and hug you, but I feel like if I do, you're going to start crying.
Yeah, I will. Let's not do that.
Okay. That's why I haven't.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That's why I haven't come over there and comforted you.
Fuck this episode.
Yeah, you did this to us. Highly low.
All right, the third one.
This is the fourth one.
This is the fourth one. Yep.
Financial dependency. All right, number 4 is financial dependency. Financial dependency can occur when your partner tries to flex control over your money, job, or spending as a way to create further dependency on them in the relationship. In some situations, they may insist on a shared bank account in order to monitor your spending, as well as tracking where you spend and when. This usually walks hand in hand with tracking you on your devices, such as ensuring that your phone is set to sharing your location, to tracking your whereabouts just in case you need them. Similarly, it is common to see in some more severely trauma-bonded relationships that they will step in to rescue you in times of financial need, such as if you have an emergency car repair, or you do not have enough money to pay your credit card bill because of the cost of the car repair. In these dynamics, helping you out will always come with strings attached, whether it is based on emotionally shaming you for not being more responsible or manipulating you into how lucky you are to have them there to financially support you. Trauma bonds cannot be sustained. These relationships are based on manipulation, coercive control, and abuse. Coercive control and abuse. It is the intensity and passion that identify a trauma bond that get confused as love. However, they are not based on love, but on a toxic attachment between you and your partner. They are emotionally, psychologically, and physically exhausting. The longer you stay in a trauma bonded relationship, the greater the risk to your overall health. It is this cycle of dependency that forms within a trauma bond and keeps you hooked, believing that the relationship is sustainable. I remember being told in my first marriage, you're never going to get better than me. No one's going to love you the way that I love you. And the way that you love me fucking hurts. So like, if it's this or nothing, I'm going to take nothing. It is not our fault if we recognize we are in a trauma bond. Chaos will feel comfortable if we grow up in that. If we were silenced and not given a voice in our family, we can become dependent on a partner to speak up for us. Yet it is the lack of autonomy and a lack of self-worth that have us turning to a trauma-bonded relationship with romanticized ideals and fantasies, while holding steadfast to the idea that it's love.
So there's a lot of information here and a lot of things that I never would have correlated. Absolutely not. No, sir. I have always attached trauma bonds to like Stockholm syndrome.
Like an extreme.
Very extreme. Like, because that was my situation.
Yeah.
Like, I was abused like a motherfucker, but I still had that need for my abuser to see me and love me and want me to be in their life and to make sure that I was okay. And I would do anything for them, regardless of what was happening. And like, I view that as a trauma bond because of my cognitive bias. There's a whole lot here that speaks on abuse, but it's not to the same level of what I went through. So like, remember how earlier in the car I was like, it's wild how we've always just referred to our voices and shit as our demons, right? Like the things that we think about and you should just eliminate yourself and it would be easier if you weren't in that person's life and all of this shit that we tell ourselves. We used to always just blame it on our demons.
Right.
And we don't talk like that anymore. We know what our problems are and we have new explanations and new ways to word things to get our points across. So it's not as rudimentary as it's just my demons. As we do this and we keep going and growing and learning, I am finding new aspects to relate to people with their shit, which is going to give me that empathy and compassion that I'm looking for because I have a different understanding. If we wouldn't have read this article today and somebody said trauma bond, I would have always equated my experience with what I don't know if that is even a trauma bond, but that's what I viewed it as because I was being abused and I was bonded with that person and I did have that need to do for them and love them and, and all of that. So I would not have been able to relate to somebody who's going through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think in your specific case, it's also worth thinking about that relationship ended not because you put your foot down and said, I'm tired of how you're treating me. It's other circumstances in your life that ended that relationship. And that can also be tied to that trauma bond. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of situations around all of that made me finally go, enough is enough. But I also realized in that situation that I exchanged my abuser for another one.
Yeah, you did.
And that speaks on the last thing that we were reading, the last article we read today about how that familiar
pattern continues.
Right. And it absolutely did. I literally left one abuser and just cuddled right on up to the next one. But I don't know. All right, guys, as you know, there was a TikTok scare. We lost the app for a whole 12 hours and we have no idea what the future of the app looks like. And with that, we are very concerned about the loss of our following. We have amassed almost 3 million followers across that platform with all 4 of our accounts. And we are trying to push people to other social media platforms so that in the event that anything happens on one app, we have multiple other backup plans. If you want to make sure that you're not missing any content, we highly recommend that you check out our Patreon.
On Patreon, we have multiple tiers to choose from. Starting at $10, you begin to receive exclusive content. At $15 a month, you get access to our private Discord server where we've amassed an absolutely amazing community of supportive people. And beyond that, we have other tiers to check out, along with my 2 private women's group, if that's something you may be interested in.
Guys, on our $15 and higher tier, you have access to live recordings. We record all of our content 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week, live in front of our Patreon audience where they are able to chat with us while we're recording. They get to see all the flirting, the outtakes, the hot topic conversations that never actually make it on the podcast. And it's really worth that aspect in itself. We have an After Dark where we sit down usually once a week and have a glass of bourbon, or in Peach's case, a glass of wine and a bowl of cheese. And we have a whole lot of fun conversations, karaoke in the Discord. We finish the lyrics. We literally just hang out, and you guys get to hang out with us. There is a host of other perks, including Zoom calls that are coming for the ultimate tier, so that if you guys are having problems, you can talk to us. It also gives you the heads up on private meet and greets, because when we travel, we try to meet up with people on our Discord on a regular basis. There's a whole slew of other perks that come through Patreon. I highly recommend that you check it out.
The best way to support what we are doing is to share the content. The second best way is to check out our Patreon. Thank you guys for being here. I feel like I need a full body massage now.
Yeah, well, you can get that seat heater on in the car when we go get you changed, because it's 2 o'clock. We got to wrap up.
Okay.
We got 4 hours until you got to go live again.
Yeah. Hey guys, little quick interruption. If you're enjoying the content, please leave a like. And also don't forget to comment. We enjoy interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions, and it helps the algorithm.
It's also free to do. And if you really want to help make sure the show continues to do, hit the subscribe button and share the content across your social medias. It costs you nothing, and it greatly helps the show. So for those of you who are watching on Patreon, The Good Wives will be live tonight on our Patreon community. We will be doing The Good Lives normal episodes as Patreon Live still. However, there is a members channel on YouTube for The Good Wives, where the Q&A episodes and any fun content will be to the members only. But we are not going to separate. We're not going to make you guys get live streams for The Good Wives by only paying for it. We will still give that to our Patreon community, but those are only the normal episodes. Any extra bonus content, live Q&As, or any of that shit,
book breakdowns and whatnot,
right, will be separate content that you can get through the subscriber thing on that page if you want to go that route. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope that this gave you some sort of insight or new perspective on your life, and that you're able to start healing.
Yeah.
Remember that you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you guys on the next one.
Bye, guys.